What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Every Week We Follow. So today we are going to be talking about Harvey Elliott and Ollie Watkins. Because they're the two people that everyone's always talking about. One player who literally can't get in the squad and one player that can't score a goal for love nor money. How are you doing quickly, guys?
Oh, Harvey Elliott, mate. That's what I'm thinking about. I'm just thinking about Harvey Elliott and what the situation is and what he's actually going to bring to our team. That Harvey Elliott could be a great player. However, Harvey Elliott probably needs to up his game if he's not going to go back in January. No.
just for those people that haven't dropped off during that random ramble, basically Gary's trying out saying Harvey Elliott or saying the words from the title and thumbnail at the start of the video to see if it does better on YouTube. That's basically what we're trying to do.
There's
how
a
are you doing,
to
guys?
this shit, right? Yeah, I'm good, mate.
Guys? How was your light switch on?
Mate, do you know what? It's been I've had an amazing weekend. As you can see, we're lit up, right? We are lit up. Christmas has arrived in the Bennett household. There will be a video on TikTok later of the Bennett light switch on, so make sure you go and check that out. Yeah, I'm good, mate. We've had a great festive weekend.
What was that?
It's my alarm, match of the day.
Oh my God.
Ever the professionals, do you know what I mean? That's just like, oh dear Lord. But what I have worked out, mate, it's been a busy weekend because I actually finished putting the lights up kind of Thursday, Friday. They take I'm just getting old. Look at me. Look, mate, I just look at I feel like
the cold won't help, mate. You're coming out. Oh, that looks good, mate. That's good.
Yeah, see? Stretch it out. I look a little bit like Alex Murphy from RoboCop. So maybe that's a show, mate, where I go to Turkey, get my teeth sorted for it when we get to the Europa League final, right? And I'll come back like that and just dribbling out of here because I can't speak. I was speaking like you know. Watkins! Like, I don't know. I'll just have to grow old gracefully. So just leave a note in the comments saying how I truly look because it just saves the abuse. And in the meantime, just kind of like and subscribe and all that and hype.
Yes,
it's all
please
reset
do.
for that.
As always, if you do like our content, this random stuff that we ramble on about, do give us a thumbs up, give us a like. If you're new here, do subscribe as well. There's also the hype stuff which will be refreshed today. Don't know what that does, but yes, like, subscribe. It all really, really helps the channel. We're trying to hit 2,000 subs at the moment. I think we're on about 1,500 or something like that. So please do keep that going. As always, there's a competition. Link in the description. There is also the QR code here. You can win a signed football and some signed memorabilia from Peter Weird and Brian Little, and all proceeds go to Acorns.
Yes.
Thanks very much. Right. So Harvey Elliott. So
first of all,
what's good? Yeah, because we had a debate about what to talk about here, and obviously,
I think we need to mention that, right? That we were on the Villa Park podcast. This is Monday. We were on it Sunday evening for their roundtable. Thank you for having us, Rich. I thought it was a brilliant show. I thought he hosted it really well. There's some great other guests on there. You've got Neil from Liverpool McGrath podcast, in particular, and I thought he was great, and the others were great too. And I go and check that out. And it was a real good debate about all things where we are at the moment, right up until from the start to now. And in a week where the Premier League is back and international football is now finally over again, Ezri Konsa could be injured, might not be. Rodgers seems to survive it, but we can now focus on us again and where we need to strengthen, and ultimately if we're going to push on. One of the things we discussed was our expectations from obviously where they were at the start of the season to where they are now. And I think it's apparent with these two players, Harvey Elliott and Ollie Watkins, right, that we are needing to do something with these pair because, let's go in Elliott first, right? When it was announced deadline day, mate, I went on Sky Sports for that. Hey, right, I was there.
Mate, I was over the moon. That it came out of nowhere. I think a lot of us felt like it saved our transfer window.
Yeah.
it was we were all like, it's a great signing, potential, but also can do something now. He gives us something that we don't have. Gives us energy.
Premier League experience, European experience.
Yeah, loads of that. Yeah.
And I guess the variables are that we never really envisaged that Buendia. I didn't. I'd never thought Buendia would hit the levels that he's hit this season. I thought his career at Villa was over, if I'm honest. And we talked about it like when in pre-season, because he looked sharp in pre-season. Buendia did, and we were like, look, he's probably going to be pushing for a move, and I fully expected that to happen by deadline day, and then it didn't. And then you think, okay, and then he started getting big part minutes. Obviously, Jacob Ramsey left, which was a big, big knock for us as fans, I think, and for the team. And it was clear that disrupted the dressing room. And now I'm just left, scratching my head really because we don't really know. But did Emery want him? Was it a Monchi deal that was pushed through last minute because of the things we just said? It seemed to make sense on paper. And as we all know that I love to say, that the game's not played on paper, it's played on grass. And Harvey Elliott hasn't touched a blade of grass, has he? What is it, 104 minutes in the months that he's been here?
He had some early appearances, right? But Neil made the good point that when he made those appearances, you had Tielemans out, Kamara was picking up a knock,
and Nana was out.
Barkley wasn't back as well. And so there was quite a lot of like shifting around in the team. You had McGinn playing out on the right. You had sometimes Rodgers on the left. You had all these kind of things going on. Tielemans playing in the 10 sometimes as well. And so it meant that he was in the squad. So do you think it is just a case that he's just that far down the pecking order? I mean, we spoke about, you got to remember, he's a loan signing, but he's not, right? Like he's always potentially not. So if you look at Emery's track record with signings, perm signings, he's incredibly slow at integrating it. Like Marlon's still, he's only just getting now in, and it's been a season and 10, 12 games. And then, and that's
a player he wanted. That's a player he wanted, Marlon.
That's a player he wanted. Maatsen as well, slow to integrate. The only players who were kind of straight in was Rodgers because JJ was injured. So that's the only reason that Rodgers got the run of games that he did.
Yeah.
And then Torres, because he's played with him plenty before. And then Onana, but he's been in and out just because of injury.
Yeah.
So actually most of the signings that he's had have been very slowly integrated.
Yeah, I guess the difference for Elliott, though, right, is that we haven't got that time because it's a season-long loan. But if he makes 10 appearances, we've got a obligation to buy him, right?
Well, I suppose if we took that 10, if the only reason, I think part of the only reason that everyone's like shouting about this, and like Neil was talking about the conspiracy theories, and it's prime for conspiracy because he's totally right. Monchi leaving, the 10 app thing, all this stuff, it's all prime for conspiracy. But like, if you took that 10 app thing out of it, forget that. Like, I also don't believe that Emery sits there worrying about the finances. The one thing I think he might look at is if they're going to him, look, and he's going, we need a striker, and then they're going, well, we don't have the funds, and he'll go, what are our options? And they'll say, well, if we don't commit to Harvey Elliott, then you've got the 35 million there.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I think of, maybe. But like, if you take the 10 appearances thing out of it and just go, it's a season-long loan with an obligation to buy. Just look at it like that. Does that changes it, right?
It does change it, but then you've only got him on a season-long loan, and if you're going to take a season to bed him in, he's not again. And for him personally, like surely he's going to the whole point of the move from Liverpool surely wouldn't have been to go from Liverpool's bench to our bench, and not even our bench. He's not even made the last two squads. So
you mean for him? Yeah, for him.
So what I'm saying is, it surely there has to be some pushback from the player there to be going, what is the point of me being here? Like, okay, you've got a plan for me, right? And either he accepts that, and maybe there is a plan. Maybe Emery's got this master thing that come January, he's suddenly going to have this run of games and be amazing, and maybe play down the right-hand side. And because we're going to need a fresh impetus come the second half of the season. Form might dip, injuries could happen, whatever, right? And actually, Emery's probably not going to change what's happening at the moment because it's working really well. And we've hit a bit of form, and McGinn playing out on the right really works because it enables cover for Cash, and he's just a versatile player, right? Something that probably Harvey Elliott's not going to bring. That because we spoke about this on the pod yesterday. It is that desire and the passion that John McGinn's got for the Villa. By the way, I'm going to watch there's a documentary on AVTV about.
Yeah, I need to check that out. Yeah,
I need to go and watch it because and we can maybe do a show on that. But that's if that's who you're competing against. Like I can imagine John McGinn going, "You're gonna have to prize this shirt out of my dead fingers, mate." Like so, maybe Harvey Elliott's not doing enough, or maybe he is because I've heard various rumours that he's looked amazing in training. But it's all speculation. Ultimately, we don't know where Emery sits on it. Whether it is a case of I'm just going to bet him in like everybody else, and he'll get his chance. But the concerning thing for me is that most of these players have been involved in the team in some way. They've been on the bench and come on and had minimal minutes. But this guy's not even been selected for the squad. Like we're talking in the European games as well, where he could have been, and he's not been even in the squad. It doesn't make any sense.
I can only think it's a lazy link, but it just has to be the whole Buendia thing. I think that would have been his place in the squad. That Buendia is
because Buendia is playing on the left, and Harvey Elliott's stronger. Like he's used to playing on the right and cutting in. How does that? Surely it's more of a case of not playing the side. If you think about it,
but I think Buendia would have been. I think Buendia would have been sat on the bench, right? He wouldn't have been. He wouldn't necessarily say if we didn't bring in Harvey Elliott and it was just Buendia. Buendia would be, and Buendia wasn't playing like he is. He'd be on the bench. The option then would be because Gasson can play on the left or the right, or so can Rogers. And then you got Buendia who can play as the 10. He can play slightly off that left-hand side. So you then got options still. Whereas with Buendia in the team, it then means Gasson or Marlon or whoever drops down, and Sancho, for instance, drops down to the bench. And so there is no room for Elliott. So maybe it's just a case of that switch.
Well, I think it's a combination of all three, mate, if I'm honest. If you think about in terms of, like you say, maybe Harvey Elliott and Buendia are too similar in terms of what they bring to the side in terms of creativity and that, those positions, probably, left and right, maybe you don't want two very similar players because you're not going to get the cover coming back and all that kind of stuff, maybe. And that's the only thing I think of because, we talked about this, Gasson, while being awful going forward and offered very little in the final third, has absolutely, up until probably the go-ahead Eagles game where I thought he had a shocker, and against Liverpool I thought he was dreadful. So those two games he was awful. But before that, he was absolutely brilliant in terms of the work rate and the covering for Cash. And obviously there's no, I guess there's the distinct connection there that Cash's performance has gone through the roof because he's had that cover, and now it's McGinn doing that. McGinn's been more versatile and played, wherever he's needed to play. So maybe it's the Gasson conundrum of actually what Emery wants is that work rate and desire, which is weird because, again, we didn't see that at the start, did we? The first 5 games were dreadful, and it was I'm looking around, what's going on?
I'm in a stadium. Oh, pigeon.
Yeah. Squirrel. Boom. We
don't get pigeons in France.
Yeah. What's it looks pretty up here. Is that do you know what I mean? So, it's kind of I don't know. For me, is he worth taking a punt on? Is that what Emery's thinking? Is he going, actually, I'm happy with the squad that I've got, right? And actually the players that are there are now doing the business. So is it just that he's not eased down the pecking order?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of games to go, right? From all the other media outlets and stuff, they're all saying there is no option to send him back in January. But I think also Ornstein has maybe reported, whether it was true or not, has reported that, or whoever was like kind of Chinese whispers, whether that's true or not, has apparently reported that Villa and Liverpool are in talks about whether he could go back.
Oh.
But there's no like explicit option or anything in the deal. There's a lot of football to be played. There's like, easily 35 games still in all competitions to be played. He only needs to make 5 appearances. That then makes that deal obligatory. So then he has to join us. And he's 22. So it's not like we're sitting here going, oh my God, he's a 26, 27-year-old player who we've paid 50 million for.
Yeah.
Hit the ground right. Like, he's 22. What's mad was I was looking at his appearances like for Liverpool, and I couldn't believe the numbers actually from like 2 or 3 seasons ago. He made like 38 appearances or 36 appearances for Liverpool. And I was like, he was like 19 or 20 or something like that. He made a lot of appearances. There was one season, I think he had like 8 assists and 3 goals or something in 30-odd appearances. Well, so that's a really good return for someone who's like 20.
Yeah, well, the thing is, he wasn't starting for Liverpool, but he was being used on a regular basis. He was coming on in most games. He was. And again, if that's the plan, fine. If the plan is to kind of actually buy him and utilise him and get him, that's fine. But like for the last 2 or 3, he's not been in the. Why isn't he not in the squad? Why is he not on the bench?
Yeah, that's the weirdest bit about it, isn't it?
Weird. I don't understand. So there's something for me that is not quite right. And obviously, like we said at the start, this is just a prime example of that conspiracy theories being thrown around that will be, particularly as we approach January, because so it'll all be about he's going to go back. What's the point in having him and whatnot? But I stand by this. As we said at the start, when we signed him, I was excited by it. I think he's a good Premier League player that could do a job for us on that right-hand side. So maybe, or hopefully, will get used. Because ultimately, like, is it a case of just testing the waters with both Sancho first? Because Sancho's getting minutes, and we're paying a lot of money for Sancho, and it makes no sense to have him on the bench. I get that, and Sancho's had little moments, nothing spectacular yet, but he's not hitting the heights of Rashford was. But he's done okay. He's done okay, and I guess and I've said this in the last few weeks, mate. And I don't think Emery's particularly good at this. In fact, it's probably a weakness in utilising the squad that he's got, and it's probably the only thing that it is. Because, and I'm not questioning it, because the results are the results, and we've done spectacular things in the 3 years that we've had Emery. But it doesn't make any sense to me to take that long to bed in players, because ultimately, surely you eventually you're going to cause unrest in the dressing room. Because if you're the likes of Elliott, Sancho, Marlon, and you go in, I want to play. Now, again, we don't know. Reading that book, right? Obviously, Emery is meticulous in his planning and meticulous in what he does. So everything that has a purpose. So there will be either things they're not doing as players, right, that he's not happy with. So he's like, until you're doing this, you've got no chance of getting minutes, right? And maybe that's a bit of backlash. Maybe that's it. Or that the players are just not deemed good enough. I don't know, and are not his signings, and therefore he's not investing. But I don't think that's the case, because as much as Monchi might have had final say on Elliott and Sancho, like, Emery still had the main control. Like, I went to that book signing, and Paco, his assistant, spoke about that. Like, it's all led by Emery. It's all driven by him. But ultimately, he has final say on everything. So, there was definitely disagreements between him and Monchi, and that's why Monchi's right, because that's what happens. So it'd be really interesting actually with this new Olave fella, like, because and I guess this kind of leads us into moving on to the beloved dear Watkins, right? Because
Aston Villa's top goal scorer, Ollie Watkins.
5 goals in 32 games. Yeah. The return is unreal, right? Yeah. Now,
was it no assists? Was it no assists in 13 or something like that?
No assists in 16, mate. 16 games, no assists, right? And that stat, those 2 stats have been swimming around my head like for weeks, and it just, because I've been trying to go, okay, he has worked hard. He played well against Man City. What I'm interested in with this Alibe fella taking over Monchi, right? That and if the Harvey Elliott situation doesn't work out, and let's say that the rumours are true, and he ends up going back to Liverpool, and we've got that 35 million. Is this the guy that can do a shrewd bit of business? Because we need someone that's going to challenge Watkins, not necessarily take his place, but we need a shrewd bit of business, just like we did with Rodgers, because nobody fucking knew who Rodgers was 3 seasons ago, right? Mm-hmm. Emery saw something and has turned him into a superb player, right? And who looks like he can damage anyone in the Premier League. That's what we need again. We need something up front, right? Now, is that Redmond? It could have been Duran. We've argued this like time and time again. Obviously, he was mentally unstable. Please get well soon, Duran. We'll see you in January, where you score fucking 8 goals against us and we lose 8-0 in Fenerbahce, right? And we all go, we should never have got rid of Duran. Looking forward to that episode, mate. And so, until that happens, Ollie is literally walking into the side. Because there's no other option, so he's just playing weak.
The other option is Marlon, and he's not a lone striker. Even we haven't actually played Gasson up front on his own, but he doesn't look. We don't want to.
Which is weird, right? Because that's where he played mainly for Nice, right? He was a number 9, but if we're going on his early doors, where if you put him up front, I don't know. Maybe that's, but it's not even been tried and tested. And this is what I'm saying. Like with Marlon, that double striker only. Okay, it was against Burnley, but it worked massively. And then we've not used it again. Maybe we're too scared to use it against better teams. But Watkins, well, I know people will kind of always say, yeah, but look what he brings to the team. He's our all-time Premier League goal scorer. Look at his work rate. And why I value that, and those characteristics are super important to win football matches. Ultimately now, the only thing that he's missing is that we don't put the ball in the net enough. Yeah. That's the only thing that's missing in our team, right? So now, unfortunately for him, the spotlight's got to be on him. We should all be going at him. And I want him to do well, but ultimately he's not doing enough to get himself in those goal scoring opportunities anymore. He's not taking. He feels like, because his confidence is so low, and the difference between when Marlon does play, like even when he comes on for little bits of minutes, he's direct. He's having a bit of luck because he's just in and around. And Watkins is not, and you can just see it in his body language. For me, there's something not sitting right with Watkins. And why I just said that he needs to be tested, ultimately, we know he doesn't do well with that, because every striker that he's been up against, he's thrown his dummies out the pram. Emery stuck with him because of the work rate, and he fits the system of what we need in terms of a centre forward for the work rate. But ultimately, now, look at last season, look at the season before. We haven't hit the heights we could hit because we haven't scored enough goals. That's it. Right, but, we missed out on Champions League because of goal difference. Now, he had 33 missed one-on-ones last year. And I said this on the Villa Park podcast. Even if he'd have taken 5 of those chances, mate, like 5 of them, we'd have finished 3rd probably, because that could have been 3 more wins, and we would have qualified for the Champions League. And the conversations this season and the summer transfer window would have been very different. Maybe Rashford stays, maybe Asensio stays, because we can afford them. We're playing Champions League football. So ultimately, for me, I'm going in on him. It's not good enough. It has to be better. Because that's the Premier League. Like if we can't have owners telling us that we want to compete in the higher echelons of the league and play Champions League football season on season, and have someone who scores 5 goals in 32 games, it's not good enough. It's time for an upgrade.
For me, last season was a weird one, because actually I think was it only Watkins and Rodgers who scored more than 5 goals or something.
Yes.
So actually, yes, okay, Watkins wasn't scoring last season, but no one was around him either. So that's always a difficult thing. Whereas this season, it feels like we're potentially getting goals from other places, which is great. But then you're just kind of looking at it going, well, what's Watkins doing? He's kind of just there, and he's not really score. He never looks like scoring. He gets the ball in a good position now and never have any confidence that he's going to score it. He makes the wrong decision. He makes a bad pass, makes a terrible shot. So all that stuff. My biggest concern, though, is we've just talked about how slow it takes Emery to bed in a player. We've got no one coming through or alongside him who is bedding in. We've got no one who's learning the way Emery wants a striker to play. Because you think about it, you've got other midfielders and you've got other players who are playing in different positions, and they can learn off each other and work with each other, and they can interchange. If you're a striker, that's the only thing you're doing. So there's only one player they've got to learn up, which is Watkins, and then working with the coaching staff. So it's not like you can just swap the striker out or rotate them round or anything. There'll just be the two of them. Yeah. So it's this thing where I'm like, where is that understudy? And what, like I said, whether it is Redmond or whatever, but obviously he's off elsewhere. So again, he would take time to bed in. But I feel like in January there has to be something. Now, I don't actually think that we have to sell. I don't think we have to sell. I don't think we need to let Elliott go back in January either, because it's a fucking bloody acronyms again and all financial stuff. But it's a new calendar year.
Yeah,
the way that this works is a calendar year, not
goes from January to January, right?
Yeah, it doesn't work on a 3-year basis. I know there's like amortization or something like that, but like we have a new calendar year. So technically, I know Ben on BM has talked about his theory that we don't want to activate that clause until Jan for Harvey Elliott, because then it'll go into the next year's accounts.
Yeah,
possibly. But I also think there is wiggle room for whether that is. I don't think we need to. I know the guys were talking about, Johan Wissa was like 50, 60 million, whatever it was, blah, 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 was 70 million, 80 million. I don't think we're going to bring in a player who is going to be walking into our starting 11, because Emery doesn't do that. So I think we're going to be looking for that 25, 30 million pound up and coming striker, someone maybe on the fringes, someone you maybe haven't heard of, like you were talking about with Rodgers, like coming from Borough or whatever. Even we were talking about, or was it Parrott scoring a hat trick, right? But it's those kind of slightly, and it'll probably be someone from the continent. It'll probably be someone from Europe that Emery's potentially familiar with from the Spanish leagues or whatever as well. But we need that kind of player who is also, you got to remember, also probably happy to play second fiddle for at least a season. So, because I don't see us bringing in a big striker that Emery's going to go, yep, fits my system perfect.
Yeah. Look, because ultimately, who's available? Like I can't name you anyone that you could just go out there and spend that money on anyway.
Everyone talks about, honestly, and if anyone says Ivan Toney, like, fuck off. Like, I know someone was moaning about our language previously on one of the other shows, but genuinely, I'm just going to say that, fuck off. No, I'm not having Ivan Toney at our club. I don't think Emery would either.
No, look, if anything like that happened, we just have to accept it, right? But I said this before. We need a shrewd bit of business, like you say, and whatever it is. But in the meantime, then, right, it is a World Cup year, mate. Right, there's a lot riding on it for Ollie, and we spoke about this on the Villa Park podcast last night. Oh, he's a streaky striker, and others on the show were like, "Oh, he'll come good." And ultimately, I don't want a striker that needs to come good every year. He's been in our club for 6 years now. He knows what's expected. He knows Emery's way. Right, he's got to be better. Simple as, like, he needs to, whether that's extra shooting practice, whether it's extra whatever it is to build your confidence. You make your own look in football, right? But I understand that the psychological element of it, right? And he's a human at the end of the day, and there's lots of smoke and fire around him at the moment. Being left out of the England squad. It's a World Cup year. The fact that he's been the numbers are poor. There's a lot to take on board there, adding to the fact that we just don't know if he wants to be here anymore, right? Because ultimately, there's lots of speculation last January about him going to Arsenal. There was lots of speculation in the summer about him leaving. And I just, you know what? There's something feels off about him. And I don't know what it is, right? Because we'll never know, but call it body language, just call it, it's not the same Ollie that we had like 2 or 3 seasons. Even last season, there was still the streaky bit came because you could see he was trying to do the right things, right? And he was just missing chances, but he was still getting into the right positions. This season, for me, he's not even doing that. Like he's going in the wrong direction, or like away from goal, or he's choosing the wrong choice of shot or pass or whatever it is, and it's not getting better. It's not improving on game. Now his hold up play is always good, and his running has been okay, but that he's got to bring so much more. But and as we just said, there's loads of football to be played. So surely for his own personal mindset, right? It's a World Cup year. I've just been left out. I want to go to the World Cup because we haven't really got anyone outside of Kane that's a natural striker. Ollie could do that again, like he did in the Euros. But he's got to start putting the ball in the back of the net. Tuchel's actually absolutely right to leave him out because 5 goals in 32 games is not what you want from a striker. You know, it's like, you know, Harry Kane is past his best by a million miles, but can still score goals because it's something you can either do or you can't. Something we mentioned as well last night was what we have to factor in is that Ollie, this is his first time, you know, as playing as a striker, the Villa. He's always played as a left-sided player, right? Now, and that only gets me so far, if I'm honest, because you're a professional fucking footballer, right, who's paid an awful lot of money. Mate, you've got to be adaptable. If you can't, like, I'm okay at football. I could play anywhere on a football field, right, and do I feel like I could, right. So you can't tell me. Yes, you get used to doing one thing because that's what you're good at. So that's what you've got to do, right? Because ultimately, yes, you played out far left and you've only played as a centre forward, but you played as a centre forward now for 3 seasons and you've hit double figures. But your goal, and even he said it himself, was 20 goals a season. But he's a million miles off that. He's a million miles off it, and it's not because I think he can do it, but he's got to sort his head out. He's got to make the right decisions because it's all about that split-second decision. And the best example I have of this is Marlon's second goal against Burnley, right, where touch, bang, right. Ollie has had numerous chances this season where he's been in that scenario where he could have had one good touch and bang. But his first touch this year, mate, I know we can't use the footage, but I could easily give you probably 5, 6, 7, 8, even 10 chances he's had this year where if his touch had been better, he'd have created a chance. Now, maybe that is confidence, but you've got to sort that shit out and you've got to do it quickly because you haven't got time to build because when, like we've just said, all eyes are on him. It has to be because it's our weak link. It's our weak link. Defensively, we look sound. Okay, we probably do need another right back and maybe cover at centre half now. Mings is injured. Our midfield is fully loaded, mate. It's quality. Yeah. It's quality through and through now. Even missing Asensio, like Barkley stepping up to the plate, Anana stepping up to the plate, Tillemans coming back, Kamara. These are McGinn. These are players that are all have got the memo and gone, we need to raise our fucking game. And after the first 5 games, now all of a sudden we're 6. And it looks like we could beat anybody. You know, I genuinely, when the way we've played the last few games, blowing Bournemouth the way that we did, I didn't expect, mate. Bournemouth have been flying, and that's football, I guess. But so Ollie has to be better, whatever it is. If that's extra training, like every day working on it, and just for us to see him trying to be in those positions and trying those, touch finish, right? But that's not happening at the moment, is it? And we've got, I think it's 9 or 10 games now between now and the new year, right? And January comes and the speculation will be there. So for me, he's got an opportunity to get on the score sheet in those 10 games, right? Maybe score 5, 6 goals, right? And if he can do that, then you just don't know. It could change our whole season because those extra 5, 6 goals, if we win the games, are the points that get us to the Champions Leagues, and we could be sitting here going at the end of the season. That was the moment that fucking changed for Ollie, and he scored. He's gone on and scored another 13 goals. That won't be good enough for me, by the way, because he should be scoring 20. We create enough chances, and that's what we need. And he's our man, so that's what we need from him, right? And if that's his next step as well, right? He's 30 now, or he'll be 30 in December. And if he wants to kind of really etch his name in as a Villa legend, not only to be our all-time Premier League goal scorer, but the guy that fires us to Champions League football and wins us a trophy, then he's got to be better. Because ultimately, let's face it, when it comes down to the nitty-gritty at the end of this year, and let's say we get to the Europa League final, right? It's probably going to be a one-chance, one-goal scenario, maybe, right? Unless, we end up having the time of our lives and doing a PSG like I did against Inter. But ultimately, these games are going to be tight because people are going to be fighting for it. So we need those percentages to move up, and he needs to start being clinical, which we all know, looking over the last 2 seasons, he hasn't been. And no one can defend that, I don't think, because the numbers don't lie. So, yes, he works hard. Yes, he looks like a fabulous character. I think he's probably one of the nicest guys in football from what I hear. And I love that about him. Like, but if I'm as a fan, like, be better. I will be critical with those numbers. But, mate, if he turns it around, I'll be all over it. We'll do a fucking show where we highlight all the stuff he's doing amazingly well. It's just a shame because, like I say, it's the missing puzzle to our completed jigsaw at the moment.
Yeah, he's because I think his contract runs until June 2028. So it's not like he's coming into the final year or anything like that, or any of these ones. Now, he does it like, for me. The thing is it's a difficult catch-22 situation as well, because, like I said, we don't have an understudy, so we don't have anyone to kind of like come through if he was to like be dropped or to leave or whatever, right? So he is our number one man. Replacing him wouldn't happen immediately, because if we replaced him, Emery doesn't have any time to work with the person to try and get them up to speed to actually, unless it's someone that Emery's worked with before. For him to be replaced or to sell at a decent fee, he needs to start playing better.
Yeah.
If he starts playing better, we're not going to sell him. So it's very much, I think, a case of, I don't see him going. There's going to be speculation rife or whatever in January.
Yeah,
he's not going anywhere for me. I think the only thing we might do is bring in someone to either compete or push him or do something. And we know that, obviously, we've said before that he doesn't do well in the competition. Well, this I think, for me, that's a non-negotiable. You can't just have a squad with one striker in the squad. Like, you have to have 2. So if he can't work under competition, I don't think that's an excuse. I'm like, well, if you can't do that, then
you've got to go.
Twilight years of your career. Thank you for all your service, but
you're
going to need to go. So I can see us bringing in someone in Jan, testing him, pushing him. And if a bid comes in the summer, if we get Champions League, and a bid comes in the summer, I could see him going. That's the time I could see him going, is if a bid comes in, we've had someone bed in over a 6 to 8 month period. They're understanding how everyone wants to play. That I could see happening. But I can't see us just swapping him out or any kind, like just selling him and bringing in another striker, because we'd just be like, the way Emery plays, and he's so meticulous, like we say, unless he plays exactly how they want to play. Or maybe it's not the same for striker. Maybe it's not quite as meticulous. It is literally just like be in the box, which is what Emery's told him to do. Stay in the middle of the pitch. Be in there. When you get your chance, bury it. It should be as simple as that for a striker. But I don't know, because everyone, like you said, everyone talks about the work rate and talks about him coming deep and doing those things. I think I said on the pod yesterday, I just think that we've potentially evolved past that. I think we are now able to create enough in a lot of the games, because a lot of the games we're the favourites now. We're not playing on the counter, or we're not going quite as direct. We're pinning teams in. We need someone who's just going to be clinical and bury the chances that he's inevitably going to get. Watkins doesn't create a lot of his own chances anymore. It's not like he used to, where he used to run the channels and he'd do that, he'd play a 1-2, or he'd do whatever. And it's not all he's making. A lot of the stuff gets fed to him in a really good position, and he doesn't bury it.
Yeah, mate, I can't help but feel, though, that the summer was disruptive, because I watched him in pre-season. I went to 3 pre-season games, mate, and I think I said to you, he looks really sharp. He was running at defenders. He was making great movement off the ball. Against Roma, he was superb. And then that first game against Newcastle, like, I know it's the whole squad, but in the first 5 games, mate, we talked about this in depth. Like, him and Rodgers were terrible. They looked like they're down tools, and we're like, I'm done. Like, now, and whereas Rodgers has improved over the last 5 games, Watkins hasn't. So something is innately wrong at the moment with him. Like, and it needs to be picked apart. Like, so come on, Emery, pull your finger out, get in the psychologist, like, nurture him, whatever you got to do, right, to get him firing, because ultimately we're just going to leave him behind, because the club, the ambition doesn't match the performance. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't. and I'm sure the owners are fully aware of this. Obviously, we're just two idiots talking about it, but like they're kind of, if we're going to be this global brand that they're trying to build, right, you've got to perform on the pitch. I mean, so we need it's getting there. So either you step up, and if you look at the likes of John McGinn, Matty Cash, who have just gone, yeah, I'm up for this, right? Because ultimately, Buendia, right, it can be done because, as I said to you, they're all quality players. They're Premier League players, right? They've all got it in them. It's all about up here. It's the desire to want to be the best you can be, to work at it, to adapt and change when you have to, because that's what you have to do in football. Like, if you're going to have a successful career in football, you have to adapt and change to kind of fit systems and managers and all that kind of stuff, because, managers change it all the time. Different managers come in. If Emery got sacked tomorrow, they're going to have to adapt if they're going to be successful. If they're not, they're moved on, right? So this kind of, we've changed the way we play up front or whatever, is bullshit. He's got to adapt to the way we play.
Of course, yeah. But he's not. But I think that's the thing is he's not, right? And so that's why the decision needs to come now. And the thing I look at is I go, right, okay, so he scored 1 goal so far this season. If it gets to 20th of Jan or 25th of Jan, and he's scored, I don't know, 3 goals this season, surely at that, and we haven't brought someone in, you kind of sit there going, what the hell's going on? Because we'll be sitting there going, well, what does a player have to do to not get replaced in this team? Because, like we've said, we've said about Morgan Rogers that you could be beheaded and lose an arm and he'd still be on. It's just like he'd be running around the pitch like that. Yeah, but he'd still be there, and it's quite ridiculous.
The headless horseman, but, yeah.
But and Ollie at the moment doesn't have that competition, so it's just like, if we don't bring in a striker in January, I'll be
amazed.
I'll be pretty amazed.
Ultimately, mate, it could cost us. It could that again. I don't want to get to the end of this season like we got to the end of last season and go, fuck, the reason why we've missed out on Champions League is because of goal difference. Forget about the Man United game, right? That was it's goal difference, because it's goals in those games where we drew that we should have won that has cost us. So we can't have that scenario again, because ultimately it could mean disaster for us if we don't get Champions League this year. Like, I know this is a bit extreme, but we could lose key players like the likes of Konza, Rogers, Martinez, Tielemans.
You saw the amount of unrest and stuff that happened in the summer. Like, a second year of it makes it even worse. And obviously we've signed players down now to contracts, but I'd be very surprised if there wasn't clauses in there around if a Champions League team comes in for you or whatever, Rogers. I'll be very surprised if there isn't some kind of clause in Rodgers' contract. Same with anyone else that we sign on. If we can wrap up Konsa's contract again, I'd be very surprised if there wasn't a Champions League club clause. Yeah.
So look, that's where they want to play. That's where they've had the taste of. That's where we should be. And so it's we can't have the same scenarios. It's because of the lack of goals. So it's like thankfully, we look so much better defensively this year than we did last year, right? Because we've been a bit more consistent in our back four, right? And maybe that is because, well, like I mentioned this on the pod, I think the reason why that is not only, Pau Torres does deserve a little bit of credit, because I've always said that I prefer Mings and Konza, but the reason why Torres looks like such a player is because of those double pivots. We're keeping teams in front of us. Because I don't care what you say. If you get Pau Torres running back to his own goal, he's screwed, mate. He's got no pace whatsoever. And that kind of has shown in certain games. And even against Bournemouth, there was a couple of times when the ball was whipped in behind and they almost got in, right? So it's a thing that we have to be very vigilant about. But on a whole, we've defended like a team and kept teams in front of us. And when we do that, Pau Torres looks amazing because he's a great player with the ball, and he is not bad physically with the play in front of him. It's when you turn him behind, he has to run and do it. He can't. So it's all about, now that's sorted and we've looked like we are defensively okay, and that midfield looks solid. It just comes down to that pinnacle of putting the ball in the back of the net. We've got actually attacking players that look quite exciting going forward. Rodgers is awesome. Buendia looks exciting. Like, you know, McGinn, when he gets on the ball, like he looks like he wants to make things happen. Marlon comes on. He looks like he's going to do something. Barkley, like influencing games, and I'm sitting there, and this is why I feel like I can comment on this, is because I'm going week in, week out. I'm paying my money. I'm sitting there watching Watkins, as I have done for 5 seasons, mate. And this isn't like a snapshot of him going, oh, he's fucking shit and he's not scoring goals. This is watching him go from not scoring goals to scoring goals, like hitting the heights of 23, 24. But instead of carrying up or maintaining that level, we've dropped. And football is about consistency. So the reason why players become like Haaland and Kane is because they consistently work on scoring goals. And that's what they do. That's the thing. And that's what he's got to become if he wants to be a Premier League striker. Like, so yes, he's played on the left. And that's why that's bullshit now, because he's played down the middle for 3 seasons. He's a striker. And now it's about developing as a player. That's what he should want. But he just hasn't hit those heights. And so ultimately, like you said, we have to get reinforcements in January if we've got any chance of winning the Europa League and finishing the top half of that. You know, because if you look at it now, that top half of the table is so competitive from 12th to 4th, right? You know, and obviously after the first 5 games, there was no way we thought we were qualifying for the Champions League. But if we win the next 2 games against Leeds and Wolves, mate, the belief and the...
By the way, we absolutely should be.
Yeah, like, we should be in the form that we're playing. There's no,
even away at Leeds, like it's a tough place to go, as they like to say. But like the way that them two are playing, we should be beating them both.
And they score less goals than we do. There, actually, I've got a stat for Thursday's show, by the way. So make sure you tune in for that when we have Andrew on. These are 2 games you've got to be looking at especially going into the run of fixtures we've got in January. You know, in December. Like December's like there's 7 games in December, so 10 games between now and then, and that means they come thick and fast, and they're tough. You know, we've got Brighton, Arsenal twice, Chelsea, Man United, West Ham away, and a trip to Basel, right, in the Europa League. So you know, these are all difficult games. You know, so but if you win those 2 against Leeds and Wolves, like you start to believe. It's like with the Spurs game, you know, you beat Spurs, you then beat City. Like it all kind of it gives you that momentum, you know, and that belief. So yeah, like I said at the start, for me, Ollie's got to be targeting these games of not only that, you know, if he's got any chance of getting back into that England squad, this is the key moment to score those goals, right? Yeah. This is the moment.
The good thing is now is we've got you know, back as the Harvey Elliott thing as well, in terms of opportunities as well and things that he's going to get. We've got this run of games now without international breaks and all this kind of stuff. We've got time where the players can bed in. There's no weird, stupid like gaps in there where they're going off to learn a different way of playing or whatever. It's literally just going to be Emery ball. Like that is what they are.
The only other thing to mention is AFCON in January, so we lose Gassond potentially. So maybe that is the plan, right? I hadn't thought about this. Maybe the plan is for Gassond to play up till January, because then he goes to the AFCON and then Harvey Elliott can play that right-hand side.
Maybe. Interesting. Let us know what you think in the comments.
Yeah. That's just
anyway, I think that'll do us now. I mean, I'm
fed
up with talking about Ollie Watkins and Harvey Elliott. That's it. That's all good. So we are looking to do some kind of analysis video on Watkins and how he's kind of like developed and how he's kind of dropped off a cliff over the last season or so. Probably come out around January time, because I'm sure the speculation will be rife. But Gary's going to be putting some hard hours into that.
I am, mate. I'm going to go back and watch all these goals, and I want it to be in January, because I want to watch these next 10 games and see if we can like see an improvement. And so we can actually put some decent footage in there, you know, and see what's going on. But it's going to be really interesting. I'm looking forward to delving into this, to go like and look at what the main differences are, you know, in those games, and maybe the players and the way that we played and what he needs to do to adapt. So just stay tuned for that one.
Yeah, because I still always had that theory last season with Rodgers, with the way they held the ball that little bit longer. So it'd be interesting to see if was that just in my head or was that actually happening. I don't know. yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And yeah, hopefully we'll be working on that over the next couple of
mate,
months.
I'm just gutted. I've got to have to trail through hours and hours of Premier League footage.
What a shame.
Watching goals and picking it apart. I mean, this is just such a shit task. Like, Sarah's devastated for me. She's like, what? Like, I mean, spare a thought. Like, if you want to donate to the cause because I've got to do this, like, it's that. Like, think about the poor Gaz of what's got to go.
Thanks or something. Donate some money so Gary can like try and fund his sitting in his pants watching Ollie Watkins score goals. You know, for the video, by the way, not for any other reason.
I won't be sitting in my pants when we do it. Nobody needs to see that, mate. We already talked about the Botox, didn't we?
Yeah. Right. Anyway, I think that about does us. Yes, mate. You will be back next week with Andrew, who is absolute crazy stats for Leeds. For Leeds. And then obviously we will have our Leeds post match as well the week after. So yeah. Any final thoughts? I think we've talked a lot about it.
No, but I'm just happy that the Premier League's back this week and we can get back to our usual shows. So the preview will be out Friday morning for the Leeds Sunday, and then we'll do our Monday pick a part of it. So I'm just looking forward to that, and hopefully Konza will be all right for it. That's my only final thought, because he didn't play because he had a calf niggle. Hopefully that's just a precautionary thing, because fuck me, we cannot afford to be without him. You know, I mean,
Lindelof.
No. Bogard, play Bogard at centre half. Do not fucking put
Kamara. Just play Kamara
there. yeah, we'll play Kamara. No Lindelof, but no, we didn't speak about him. That's another one. Don't put no, different show, mate. Anyway, no, have a good day, people. Make sure you like and subscribe if you're here at 51 minutes. We probably won't be, but please do. And we'll see you on the next one. And as always, every week we follow the boys in Claret and Blue.
See ya.
Peace and love.